Hello and welcome to another episode of Pitbulls, Parolees, and a Producer. My name is Billy Cooper. I am the executive producer and showrunner and your host for this show, Pitbulls and Parolees and a Producer. I am joined, as always, by Miss Tia Torres, owner-operator of Villalobos Rescue Center and lead talent on Pitbulls and Parolees. And we are once again joined by a very special guest, Rasha Drachkovitch, owner-operator of 44 Blue Productions and executive producer of Pitbulls and Parolees. What's up, Rasha? Hey, Tia.
Hello. I was doing the pom-poms.
Yes, pom-poms. And Rasha is still, Tia, guesting, trying to be your neighbor.
He is trying to be my neighbor. I wonder if I can, let me see here. I don't want, I don't.
No, don't do it.
Oh, don't threaten me. Oh, I can't do it. I didn't pull it up.
No, I mean, it's sort of, Rasha, he's like Mr. Rogers. He like, won't you be my neighbor?
It is. Well, I'm not
by
really
the way,
good at
Tia lives there, so nobody is Mr. Rogers to her. Nobody can be her neighbor.
Nobody can be my neighbor. Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Nobody be her neighbor. So again, I am going to hope and pray that Chewy will be our sponsor one day. So I will shout out to Chewy. Orders over $100, free delivery. Anybody? They also have a good pharmacy program. You can get your special dog food from there.
You're right. You're probably giving him all these pitches. We don't get jack shit.
Although, Tia, did you hear this? That when this is a crazy thing. Somebody told me this the other day, that if you are a longtime subscriber to Chewy and you get your dog food from them, and then you cancel your subscription because your dog passed away, they send you flowers.
It's sweet.
Very sweet. Very cool. I was like, wow, good for them. Good for Chewy.
It is. I'm not a flower kind of person, but it's sweet.
So the episode we're talking about today is the episode number 211, the final episode of season 2. This is your spoiler warning. If you have not watched episode 11 of season 2, head over to Discovery Plus or wherever you watch your episodes and check it out, and then come back and listen or watch, whatever you like to do. But you have been warned. The title of this episode was also way creatively, The Next Chapter. Originally aired of January 22nd of 2011.
We hired just the top writers in Hollywood. You know that.
Here's what I will say. I think, I don't know, at some point I took over doing the titles for the episodes. I'm going to cry stupidity at this point. I don't think that one was mine.
Okay.
I'd like to, yeah.
You are the king of cheese, so if it's not cheesy, you did not write it.
Yeah, agreed.
Can we say
man,
hokey?
Billy wrote some
hokey.
Cheesy shit, man.
Okay. Well, here, so this, so speaking of writing, this is the episode description as aired in the TV guide or your episode guide. Now that Tia has gotten her hands on the dream property, she is faced with the daunting task of moving herself, her parolees, the kennels, and nearly 200 pitbulls of Villalobos. As the difficult work of breaking down the old building and the new one begins, Tia can't forget the mission to rescue and has no choice but to help a loose pitbull that she and the girls encounter at her new place. Then, when we get it, she's put in a bind. Tia's forced to turn to an old friend. Whoa!
I am not a rat, man. Whoa.
Forced to turn to an old friend to quickly get an older pit bull adopted out. All this leads to an emotional and overwhelming moving day as Tia oversees the caravan of volunteers moving the dogs to a new Villalobos Rescue Center. I'm just reading what was there.
Who writes descriptions that are
I don't know. Seriously, you could have just said they move. End of story.
Exactly.
Watch the show.
Where was this write-up at?
I don't know.
In the proverbial TV guide?
The proverbial, yes. I mean, here's what I will tell you, Tia. So I have all of these on my computer from having done all of it.
I am so glad I don't follow that stuff. That I would have. Wow.
Okay. So I'm going to do a little bit different here. So we're actually going to talk a little bit about what was going on with the business of the show at this point, because we're coming into. Yeah.
Where are we? I'm sorry.
What do you mean? Where are we?
That whole speech got me so combobed. Where are we right now?
The year is 2010.
2010, 2011.
Am I in California?
Season, yes, you're still in California. Okay. Still in California. You are moving to Tehachapi.
Okay, thank you.
2 fires. So the episode just before this one, and in your life just before this one, there was a fire at Villalobos that went right to your doorstep, and then there was the fire at Tehachapi.
I know
that the Old West fire that stopped short of your property line, and so all the Old West Ranch except for your property was wiped out, And so you were still going ahead with moving the dogs.
Just so you know, that is a lie. It did not stop at my property line. It burned the fucking 22 acres to the ground.
No, that was another fire when that was the second Tehachapi.
No, you are incorrect. Whoever wrote this is absolutely incorrect.
The property burned on, this was the Old West fire. The second fire at Tehachapi was when the plane crashed on your front lawn, and that's what took out your property.
Oh my God. Well, all I know is that I only remember 2 fires. I've been through so many wildfires.
The show covered 3.
Okay.
The show covered 3 wildfires. There was the Villalobos fire.
Yes.
That went up to the property line.
That's when one of our producers got bit in the balls.
Correct, which we talked about in a previous episode.
Okay.
Then there was the Tehachapi fire, which happened the very, very next day.
Yes.
That was called the Old West fire.
Okay.
I remember because in this episode we showed the news piece that showed the Old West fire, and then you drove in that episode. To remind you, you drive. Yes. You were in the car with Jake. You drive, and you're like, "What? It looks like a war zone." You get out, war zone, and you get in, keep driving to your place, and there was a fire line, and the fire line held, and your property stayed there, and then this next episode, which was a couple weeks later. I'm gonna have to
go back and watch that episode.
Fine, watch. But yes, there was another episode in season 3, soon to be later, where a plane crashed on your front lawn in Tehachapi.
I remember that very well. Yes, I know.
Okay. Anyway,
it's getting hot in here.
I know. I'm a little. Tia. I'm what my grandmother would call verklempt. I'm a little verklempt.
Okay,
I'm starting to spritz.
I know.
These wildfires. No,
I know. It's
talk on the wildfires. I can look at. I'm already getting like.
I think. Well, here's the thing. I think the episode description threw us all for a loop.
Yes.
Honestly.
I think so.
I need to light up a cigarette.
Something. Okay. So Rosh, so take us back. Okay. So at this point, Tia, in the history of the show, we were finishing production on season 2, and we actually had very interesting information. We knew at this point that season 3 was happening. So we knew we were going to continue production, and we knew when we resumed production in season 3, it was going to be in Tehachapi.
Right.
At least at that point. We knew at this point, we knew you were moving to Tehachapi, and it was up to us as the producers to figure out how to shoot the show in Tehachapi, a very small town in Kern County with, I think it was 1 motel, which I remember going to look at with Jeff Turner and being scared out of our minds.
I know that motel. I mean, I think I don't know it, but I know
sure. No, but we were, I remember we looked at the hotel and we looked at each other like, people can't stay here, do they? Do people stay here?
Yes.
And we were going to, and I think that was the plan. We were like, okay, producers.
All the women that visit their men in the Tehachapi prison stay there, yes.
And we're like, okay, producers, you're going to go live in this hotel for the next 4 months of your life while we film the show. And we're like, nobody's going to work on this show. It's going to be really hard to do. Anyway, Rosh, so what was going on with the ratings at this point? I know he actually, in preparation for this episode, Rosh pulled up some old statistics and things.
Oh, okay, you're going to love this. I pulled up some emails from the network. Number one, we were getting about 800,000 viewers, which was really a lot. But this is pretty classic. I just got to read this one to you. It's from our network executive that says, we had good numbers again this week, slightly higher than our demo target, did strongest among women, which is great, had a great lead-in with America's Cutest Cat. I've lost a bunch of viewers at the start of PvP. No surprise that cute cat people aren't necessarily pit bull people.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a classic.
That's America's Cutest Cats. Come on. Really?
So we knew it was.
That's some network strategy for you.
Yeah.
The analytics were working, right? So the good news is these when a show works, you start getting different language from a network as opposed to when a show doesn't work. There's a couple things to think of there. Number one, if a show doesn't get any notes from the executives, you're pretty much
they don't care.
Swimming with the fishes. Yeah, the show's done. And now we were getting a lot of notes, and we could argue, we were getting overnoted, but the fact that they were caring was a good thing. The second thing was publicity. A network has, 24 shows, they can only promote certain ones because that's where their ad dollars go. And they decided in season 2 to really go all in on pit bulls and Parolees. And I found another interesting thing. I thought you'd get a kick out of this, Tia. This is what was the electronic press kit. You know, they sent out 500 of these kits to television writers, talk show hosts, bloggers. And there was interest early on from Carson Daly, Jimmy Kimmel. I think we talked about Ellen happening then. They talked about doing something called the Satellite Media Tour. I don't know if you remember this, but they wanted to have you and Jake possibly do 12 to 15 morning show interviews to markets across the country, like at 7 a.m.
You remember these? You did a couple of them. You're like, Good Morning Schenectady.
Yeah.
And then it's Good Morning Baltimore.
Yeah. I think I did it one time.
They wanted to fly you out to New York and so on. But
oh, yeah.
I knew we made it when, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yeah, there I am. Yes. So, thanks for showing me like 20 years younger, but go ahead.
This was an amazing poster, you know.
Yeah, I like the mission statement there.
It's really, you know, when this poster came out, this was a sign that, you know, network is figuring this out. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, it was well designed, you know, very interesting. They caught your attitude, at least the energy of the series with Hell Hath No Fury, like a woman with a cut. Like, it was really, okay, you know what? They're actually watching the show and they're getting it.
And not only that, they give a shit.
They do. So this is when, as a producer, you're kind of going, all right, this is more than just, you know, a couple, you know, lucky singles. Like this series may have some legs. And when we started talking about Tehachapi, again, when we thinking about future storylines, that got us very excited because it's a new location.
Right.
The reason you're going there is pretty dramatic. The new property is pretty spectacular looking, and with all this design plans about runs with the dogs and where everybody's going to live and all. It was, you know, just a huge injection of creative energy into the potential for the series.
Yep.
I mean, Tia, like, in relation to, so just so everybody knows, I mean, Tehachapi, where was Tehachapi in relation to where Villalobos was? And then obviously Rasha and I can tack on where it was in relation to where we were working out of in LA.
Tehachapi was about an hour north of Villalobos, where it was at in Agua Dulce. But it was a lot higher elevation. So it snowed there. It definitely snowed there. Yeah, it snowed there in the wintertime. So we knew we were going to be seeing the snow element on a regular basis. It was 22 acres of oak trees and pine trees. That's what did it for me, is the trees. What made the property really unique, which was we were taking a huge leap doing this, is the property was completely off grid, meaning there was no power to the property.
Nope.
It ran off. It was like the apocalypse, you know. It ran off. It was like, for the preppers put it together. It was like it ran off a battery bank and solar, and so that was challenging enough.
The other thing in this episode, one of the big things in this particular episode, do you remember, was the big green water tank getting delivered?
Yes, and it
had
the
Parolees had to oversee it getting put in.
Right.
And it was, you know, and at one point we thought they thought Mo was going to get run over, like Mo was in the bulldozer and the big green water tank's rolling down the hill
right.
As soon as we got the tank slid down off the trailer, we thought it was going to be easy to just tip it up. And sure enough, as soon as we started tipping it up and we thought it was all good, it started getting out of control. Oh. I got hit!
So we were planning on this property was going to be completely off grid, you know, water and power was going to be just living off the land. And and it was going to be a challenge, but, you know, we were doing it for many reasons. One, to give a better environment for the dogs. Two, I couldn't deal with Santa Ana winds, you know, and, you know, just everything was changing in the Antelope Valley. Two, I was trying to save money because we couldn't afford, you know, all the extra overhead. So there were many reasons why we picked the property.
I mean, I mean, it's funny because I remember the day that we filmed the sort of final scene of this episode, both Rasha and I were there, and you walk the dogs, and I remember there was the hike to the top of the mountain. The top of you had basically you were moving into a mountain.
Yeah.
And we get to the top of the mountain, and I remember going, "Well, this is great, but how are we going to shoot a show out here?" Like it was like we didn't know where the rescues were going to come from. We didn't know where the adopters were going to come. Like we didn't know where was it all going to. We didn't know if it was even going to work. So it was sort of like you were taking a risk, and we were like, "All right, I guess we're along for the ride." Little did we know that along for the ride was going to go in 50 different directions after this.
Yeah, trust me, no one was more surprised than I was.
Yeah. So it was an hour from Agua Dulce, and LA. It was 45 minutes originally, from 44 Blues offices in Studio City to. So we were looking at a 2-hour drive. So like we were saying,
without snow. So during snow, probably 4 hours. If you even made it.
If we even made it, right? So it was going to be a challenge to say the least. So in hindsight, looking at it, from a television production perspective, what happened in the later season where it didn't worked out better for probably not necessarily for you, but it is one of the sort of like things that you could say those sliding doors moments that get you from point A to point B. If Tehachapi had worked out, who knows if you'd be sitting there, I'd be sitting here. We don't even know, I
don't know. I'm probably getting ahead of myself.
Sure.
But I can answer that question.
Yeah.
When the final fire took out the entire property.
Yes.
Okay. And all that was left standing was the house, but the whole property burnt down.
You lost the warehouse with all
and
your
the warehouse
pictures.
with all my everything I owned was in that building.
Yep.
Okay. So at one point I met up with a fire captain up in Tehachapi. Mm-hmm. And I was just upset and this and that. I said, "Oh my God, everything's gone. I'm so upset." And I remember him he grabbed my arm and he turned me around and he goes, "Tia, you need to look at this, like the glass half full. If you had moved up here," he goes, "none of your dogs would have been alive."
Wow. That's true.
Because that's the one where the plane crashed into the front yard.
Yep.
And it exploded and my property went up first. And where it crashed, we wouldn't have been able to get out. Like it crashed down below where we come out of our driveway. We would have been trapped.
It was like one way in, one way out dirt road.
We would have been trapped. So when he said that, I can't even tell you the feeling I had. And I try not to do the what if game.
Sure.
Like, I'm like, okay, so what we would do, we would just open all the kennels and I'm like, stop, Tia, stop.
Yeah.
So, yes, 2 men lost their lives in that plane.
Yeah.
But, everything happens for a reason. As far as we were concerned, it was, I'm glad we didn't, for obvious reasons. I'm glad that we did not move there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
hadn't heard that story. That's
It was off camera.
Yeah.
And he just told me, he goes, "Your dogs would have been moved here."
Yeah.
And he goes, and so because we were talking about the council meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's what he. I'm sorry. That's what he meant by that. He goes, "Imagine Tia," and then he even said, "If you had moved here just with your personal dogs, which is what I was going to do, also." He said, "You wouldn't have made it out."
Wow.
Yeah.
Rasha, also going back to the business of it all, isn't this around the time that you introduced Tia to Amir?
Well, yeah, we're represented by William Morris Endeavor. WME is a big talent agency, one of the biggest. And our agent is Amir Shakalili, who is our day-to-day, our first call, last call every day, and has really done a great job in promoting 44 Blue. And I think at that time, I made an introduction to Tia because, this was growing, this thing. Now you got posters, you got press tours, you've got ratings, this thing is taking off. And my thought was, wouldn't this benefit or help out Tia, because she's starting to get inquiries from people, on all kinds of levels, and, certainly Tia's well equipped to handle herself for sure. But, from an agent side, would this be a benefit that could help Tia out, like for other projects even down the road? So that was, I want to say that was 2010. I think that's when I first made the
yeah. And I pretty much said no to everything.
Yeah.
Little did Amir know. I mean, he didn't know.
I was the easiest Kleiny ever had.
The easiest and the hardest all at the same time. Yeah. All right, so back to the episode. What we're here about. So the standout storylines. We've talked a lot about the move to Tehachapi, the 2 fires previously on the last episode. This was also the Willow rescue. Tia, if you remember, this was like you and Mikey D stopping on the side of the road rescuing a dog.
The husky.
Hi, buddy. How are you? Oh, he's friendly. Look at you. Come here. You little husky puppy.
Once the truck's cleared, I just opened up my door and I was able to get a leash on her. And I mean, yeah, it's not a pit bull, but you know what? A dog loose on the highway is a dog that needs help.
This was the Sheila adoption. Remember, Louise showed up at your doorstep in the middle of moving and says, "Hey, guess what? Here's a dog."
So Louise showed up with an unexpected surprise.
Isn't she amazing? I can't have more than 2 permanent residents at my house. There's just not room. So I've come to Tia to kind of help figure out a solution.
And you wound up bringing it to Rita.
Rita is one of our regular adopters who adopts our older dogs. And any dog that ends up with Rita is the absolute luckiest pit bull on the planet.
You don't have to get a dog as a puppy and raise it for years and years for it to be your soulmate. These dogs form a connection with you immediately and they become your family.
This was also Cameron returned after leaving because he graduated high school. He thought on to better things.
Cameron, one of my former parolees, is sitting in front of my house like a little lost puppy.
I'm here to ask if I could have my job back. When I left here, I was gonna have a job, basically better than I had here. And then when I got there, there was nothing for me.
Well, love to have you back. Dogs would love to have you back.
This was also the introduction to Ruby, Mondo's soon-to-be wife.
My name is Ruby, and I'm Armando's fiance.
Ruby is an old girlfriend of mine from high school, so we have been reunited via Facebook.
So, more than the ABC, but a little bit of a juggle. I mean, it's to say that the Tehachapi story was the standout. I think,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I might give this to Cameron though, because I do think Cameron became in the very early goings of season 2, season 3. Cameron became a very important part of the framework of the show. Especially, season 3, he had a one of the craziest exits.
And it was not
Spoiler.
fake. It was real.
A very crazy exit. So with that, so I knew. As much as it's sort of like against the grain, I'm going to say Cameron coming back.
Cameron's exit could have been an episode of, real life Housewives of Orange County.
Oh, yeah.
No, we were flipping tables before there were table flipping.
Yeah. We were flipping tables and everything else before that. Yeah. Cameron was on stuff. Yeah.
Rosh, what do you think? Which one's your standout?
Woof. I think Cameron for that reason. I think that was off the chart. Again, can't script this stuff. That when that happened, it just took everybody's. But anyway, yeah, I would say Cameron.
Tia?
I'm just got to stick by what I know. That's the Tehachapi.
Yeah. This also, so for our Pimples and Parolee firsts, this was the first time. It's funny because I'm going to say this is the first time we moved. Little did we know
First time
that there was going to be so many others.
People must think I fake this stuff because to me I feel like I fake it. Like who does that? What we've moved and tried to move so many times.
Well, okay. So the quote in the episode, at the end of the episode,
Never to leave again, along with the oak trees. Forever.
Forever lasted about a month and a half.
Yeah.
Well, from a business standpoint, making the shows, you think about all the line items that it takes to make a show. One of them is travel, right?
Yes.
As you were saying earlier, Aqua Dulce was close enough that, typical, crews, work 10 hours, 12 hours.
Well, here, inside info. So it was in the, everyone knows the TMZ. Yeah. TMZ stands for 30 Mile Zone. And 30 Mile Zone is, for crews, as long as the location is within 30 Mile Zone, the production doesn't have to pay mileage. Right. And so Villalobos, Agua Dulce was in the TMZ, was in the 30 Mile Zone. Tehachapi was not.
No.
It
was not even in the zone.
It wasn't even close.
Remember Jeff Turner, who was handling a lot of the budgeting. when we went up to Tehachapi the first time, we realized, okay, we're either going to have to rent, quarters here, like a hotel, and there weren't many, because we can't have people driving that far and back. That's 4 hours. Like, where's the crew?
Mhm.
Should we build something? Should we rent something? Like, literally, it was like, oh my God, how do we make this?
What is she doing? So I said, you know what? Screw all of you then. We're going to New Orleans.
It's like,
Now
screw
we're
you.
talking.
I'm going to have a plane crash on my front lawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to have the Kern County Board of Supervisors turn me down.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
we faked
Yeah.
all.
I'll show you about 30-mile zone.
Right.
Yeah.
The other first in this was the first of many Louise feature episodes where Louise sort of dropped in and became became a recurring presence on the show, both on camera and off.
Yeah.
Louise and I have been running the LA City Animal Shelter Pit Bull classes for like 10 years now. So Louise has now become pretty much our permanent, trainer here.
I have 2 of my own dogs, and I foster dogs for Tia, and I have boarding and training dogs.
But also, I think every time Louise popped up on camera, she created headaches for a lot of people.
I think we ended up calling her like Hurricane Louise, didn't we? Because she just kept blowing in and blowing out.
Yep. But in a good way. I mean, anytime Louise participated in the show, it made the show better.
Yeah, no, she was a great dog handler too.
Yeah. So looking back to you, I mean, time machine moment, anything differently?
Oh, really? Do you want me to
Come on.
really? How long do we have?
Go.
I never would have bought Tehachapi.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, ever. And then you know what? The thing that killed me the most about that is that those oak trees, some of them were like 300 to 400 years old.
Yeah.
Like, what a tragedy. Thankfully, I got some poor man that wanted to buy 22 acres of ashes.
Right.
Yeah, I somehow got that thing sold. I don't know how I did it, but I did. And some guy bought it. I'm like, dude, don't ask for the before pictures because you're never going to want to buy this property. So yeah, got my money back at least.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So wow. But yeah, that would have been it.
In terms of our PvP and P, I know, Tia, your favorite category, MVP and P. Our pit bulls, most valuable Sheila, who is a dog, also Louise called her grandma, and then Willow. So obviously the dog that went to Rita, and then Willow, the dog he rescued on the side of the road. What happened to Willow?
She got home.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did Willow make it out to Louisiana, or did Willow get adopted?
I think we got. I don't remember. I think she came into Louisiana with us.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
And then most valuable person, I have 4 choices. Mondo, because he was helping oversee a lot of the move. Cameron, Louise, and Rita.
I'm gonna go with Rita on this.
I'm gonna agree. Rita stepped in and helped at a very, had that dog that Louise brought to you, I mean, she was an older dog, and the move would have been pretty hectic.
Yeah.
Rosh, any closing? What do you think?
At that time, I had a real soft spot for Mondo. I'll never forget the dog lesson he did in front of the. You remember he had to get the dog passed in front of the.
Rocket.
Yeah.
Yes,
Rocket. Yeah.
Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That was in season 1. Yeah.
Comedy gold, and I think at the time was but again,
good old days. The good old days.
Yeah, good old days.
So Mondo. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So to bring it all around, this was the end of season 2. We knew at this point, as far as we were all concerned, we were moving to Tehachapi. Little did we know it was to come in season 3.
Little did we know it was to come.
But season 2, had a lot of ups and downs. I mean, Tia, this was the season. Obviously, we said, we had Jake came back. We had AJ go away. AJ's deal. This first trip to Louisiana for both you and the girls separately. So this had a lot of, foretelling of what was to come, which is kind of a, I mean, when you say we don't script this stuff, we couldn't have scripted because it was too crazy to script.
Yeah.
I
know. Wow.
Rosh, closing thoughts? Any, season 2?
Oh my God. Season 2, after everything we went through, and again, just seeing this amazing show come together. And then when the word came that it's New Orleans, you know how I feel about New Orleans.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't know that back then, though. You know,
Right? True.
We went from Tehachapi, No Street, to New Orleans and Bourbon Street.
Well, to be fair, though, I was going, okay, Animal Planet, here are the choices. And I went down, I said, Arkansas or Louisiana? And they were like, wait, Arkansas? Yeah, I found this place up on a mountain, literally on a mountain. And it's got this lake, and they're just like, wait, what? And so I remember, I forgot who it was that said, well, let's go with New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I had never lived in a city before.
Right. True.
So I was like a total country bumpkin. My first city, New Orleans.
I will say to you that this episode did give me one of my most vivid memories that still to this day I remember. So when we were producing the episode in Tehachapi, we did spend a couple of nights in and around Tehachapi, and one night at the one bar after we had wrapped, we went out for dinner as a crew, and they had karaoke, and I saw Jeff Turner sing "Friends in Low Places" at a bar in Tehachapi.
God, I am. Why didn't you video that?
I regret it. So Jeff, by the way, Jeff has a great voice. Jeff has a good voice. Good. Yes, good stage presence. The whole thing. So shout out to Jeff Turner. Longtime line producer.
He's sung it a few times at our parties. He's pretty good.
Yeah. So so without Tehachapi, I would not have that memory.
Wow, who would have thought? I thought he was just a pretty face and in a producer body.
Well, Jeff had many other memories. Do you remember? Well, at Tanya's wedding, his when he came dressed as a go-go dancer in the purple jumpsuit.
Oh yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me.
I was a zombie lounge singer, and he was Elvis. And
yeah, something. Yes. So, anyway, Pitbull's Parolees and a Producer was produced as always by Candace Cobbett and Amanda Moser. Thanks, guys. Shout out. So Tia, thank you for joining us. For Rosh, thank you for coming on again. You're welcome anytime. Tia, see you next time. And everybody, stay tuned. Season 3 of Pitbull's Parolees and a Producer coming your way very, very soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.